All right, let's do it. You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Coming your way on today's show, we're going to take a look at some 49ers OTAs winners and losers up to this point. Still some OTA sessions set to take place throughout this offseason, but already we've gotten a pretty good look at what this 49ers team can bring to the table offensively and defensively. As to who stood out and who is not, we'll tell you here coming up right around the corner. First, though, let's get you caught up on the 49ers offseason schedule. Couple of OTA sessions already did take place on the 23rd and the 24th, as well as the 26th. The next OTA session this upcoming week from May 31st to June 1st, then June 3rd and June 6th to the 7th. Mandatory minicamp going to be taking place in the shadows of Levi Stadium from June 13th to the 15th. Mandatory sessions there, so we'll see if Deebo Samuel will partake. If he doesn't, of course, that's going to be a huge storyline moving forward for San Francisco. And training camp to be determined. We know when it's going to be at some point in July, just don't know the specific dates up to this point. We kick off our winners in OTA so far with Trey Lance, the future face of this franchise. He's looked good so far throughout these practices. He's been accurate, displayed some minor tweaks to his mechanics. I think his motion is a little less loopy and a little bit tighter. Because of that, the accuracy has been on point. He did admit last year was a little bit overwhelming as a rookie, but this year going into OTAs, going into the offseason, now that he knows that he's the face of the franchise, he's been a little bit more confident. He's carried himself with a little bit of gusto, a little bit of swagger, and I think he's been a little bit more composed and in control. Of course, when you have more experience under your belt and you know what is in front of you, it's going to allow you to kind of be yourself a little bit, and Trey Lance has been that. And according to Pro Football Focus, you ready for this juicy report? Thursday, the best practice for Trey Lance throughout this entire offseason, maybe even going back to last year as well. Here's what Pro Football Focus had to say about what Lance was able to do on Thursday. Lance has all the tools, both physically and mentally. That's why the 49ers took him where they did, third overall in last year's NFL draft. They believe he can be a top 8 quarterback, and they're willing to let him prove it by trading Jimmy Garoppolo before the season. Here's where it gets juicy, folks. Lance has impressed people within the organization so far this spring, and the team feels he's already shown progress early in organized team activities, and Thursday was believed to be the best practice of the offseason. Now, we're looking for Trey Lance to make a lot of improvements moving forward. He has to tinker a little bit with his mechanics, and when he goes away from the team and continues to work out in Southern California with some of these renowned quarterback experts, I imagine he's going to continue to fine-tune his mechanics. But already, things are moving in a good direction. He feels more confident. He feels more in control. He looks to have that confidence that you need from a starting quarterback. He's been dapping up his teammates, taking on some of the leadership skills. He already reached out to every single 49ers rookie who was drafted in the 2022 NFL draft, and all of these things are really important for a franchise quarterback to display, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo being away from the team has actually benefited Lance to a certain degree because he hasn't had to worry about Garoppolo breathing down his neck, and he doesn't have to worry about any competition for that quarterback one spot on this roster. As a franchise quarterback, you're the CEO of the business. You're the CEO of the franchise, and Lance has the skill set to be one of the better quarterbacks in the league, 6'4", 225 with a rocket arm and the athleticism to be a game breaker as well. You have to have the mental makeup and the maturity to be the face of the franchise, and Trey Lance has that, in addition to all of the leadership qualities and intangibles that you need to be quarterback number one. So that's why I'm confident. That's why I have confidence in Trey Lance moving forward that he can, in fact, be the guy for the San Francisco 49ers. And you know who else is confident in Trey area? Jerry Rice, the best wide receiver in the history of the game. He said this recently: I knew Trey was going to be special from the first day that I talked to him. I told him right before the draft, I said, you're going to be a San Francisco 49er. Obviously, Jerry Rice has confidence in a lot of the members on this roster, and he is one of the faces of this franchise as a Hall of Famer and as an alum. So he has some incentive to say things like that, but I don't think that he would go out and say something like that give lofty praise to Trey Lance if he actually didn't mean it. So speaking of quarterbacks, I want to gauge how old some of you are in the comment section right now. Who was the quarterback of the 49ers when you became a fan? If it's Trey Lance, that means that you're a little bit younger. If it's Joe Montana, you're a little bit older, but let me know down below in the comments section. Also, if you want to donate to the show, you can right now, thanks to the Super Thanks function right here on YouTube. It's something that YouTube has added over the last couple of weeks. You can donate outside of live videos when a lot of you have given us some super chats in the past. All you have to do, you hit that heart icon with the $sign through it, and by doing so, you're able to donate to the show to show us that you really love our content. And if you have a bold take about Trey Lance or the Niners, it's a good opportunity for you to be on the show, because on the next show that we do, anybody who gives us a super thanks, we will read your comments and we will give you a shout out. Once again, it's that $sign with the heart icon. We greatly appreciate all of your donations right here on the 49ers Report. Winner number 2 throughout OTAs, Talanoa Hufanga, the safety. Took the starting strong safety reps opposite of Jimmie Ward. So right now moving forward, it looks as though we're going to see a safety tandem of Hufanga as well as Ward. And when he was on the field during some limited sessions, obviously no contact, not many 11-on-11s, a lot of 7-on-7s throughout OTAs. He didn't allow the top to be taken off of the defense. He didn't give up explosive plays and didn't let the passing game get behind him and allow some plays to be taken to the house. He also came into camp with some added weight, which I think is important for Talanoa Hufanga. Now, coming out of USC, he was a late-round draft pick because he lacked some explosiveness, he lacked some elite athleticism, but he's able to make up for that with some of his intangibles, and I love the intangibles that Talanoa Hufanga brings to the table. I also love his versatility at that safety position because he can play safety, but he can also have an impact on this defense as the guy who can play, flourish, and thrive in the box. He can play a little bit of linebacker, but also he's really good on special teams as well. And moving forward in this offseason, really intriguing training camp battles are set to take place in the secondary. Now, right now, this is my best swing for what the first-string secondary is going to be from left to right. You have Ambry Thomas playing cornerback, Emmanuel Mosley in the slot, Talanoa Hufanga and Jimmie Ward at those safety spots. Charvarius Ward is going to travel, I believe, on both sides of the field as cornerback number 1, but I really like the depth that the Niners have built throughout this offseason in that secondary with guys like Deommodore Lenoir as well as Samuel Womack. Now, who's going to back up at those safety spots? It's looking like it's going to be Leon O'Neal Jr. if he can crack the 53-man roster. George Odom, no question, I think is going to make this team. Tarvarius Moore, another player coming off a torn Achilles, who is going to vie for some consistent snaps. But the point here being with Darqueze Dennard as well as a backup cornerback, the depth in this secondary a lot better than it was last year going into the year, where after Jason Verrett went down with that torn ACL in week 1, the 49ers as an organization were scrambling to find some depth pieces. That's why they had to go to the emergency free agency market to sign a player like Josh Norman and Drake Kirkpatrick. Both of those guys just were not good and could not cut it. You're younger, more athletic, and better at a lot of those positions in that secondary. It's a good problem to have for San Francisco. Also, Talanoa Hufanga, his hair alone, very reminiscent of Troy Polamalu. The hair alone makes him a great player. And, of course, he had the scoop and score off the Jordan Willis punt block in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs against the Green Bay Packers. Straight up electric, and I think you're going to see more of that from Hufanga this year, especially if he gets more reps and they don't elect to bring back Jaquiski Tartt. I think Hufanga makes the most sense to start on the other side of Jimmie Ward at those two safety positions. If you haven't subscribed to the 49ers Report, you ain't alive. We are closing in on 60,000 subscribers. So if you're a ride or die Niner fan and fan of the 49ers Report and you're subscribed to the channel, I want everybody who is subbed to type gang in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed and you want the best 49ers coverage on YouTube with free daily videos covering all of the latest 49ers news and rumors, just hit that red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/49erstv. One more winner to get to, then we'll pivot to the losers. Aaron Banks, folks, a winner so far in OTAs. Chris Forster, offensive line coach, very complimentary of Banks' progress, especially him playing at left guard as compared to him playing right guard last year. Last 2 years at Notre Dame, he did primarily play left guard, where he gave up very few pressures and was dominant in the trenches for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. That's a big reason why he went in the second round of the NFL draft last year. Now, a year ago as a rookie, he was a little bit pudgy and had this unwanted weight. He's still around 330 pounds, but he's in better shape and has healthier weight, which has lent itself to him being in much better shape, and he's moving more swimmingly across the football field. He also, Chris Forster said, that Banks at the end of last year made enough strides to actually start at right guard over Daniel Brunskill. The 49ers just didn't want to mess with the camaraderie along that offensive line that late in the year as they were trying to make that playoff push, but Aaron Banks did impress in practice, which is, of course, a very good sign. More from Forster on Aaron Banks. His conditioning, his strength have improved. He has the ability to maintain, to play faster, to play harder because he's in better shape. He actually likes left guard more than right guard, so he's over there drilling, doing a phenomenal job. He has had a great offseason, and it'll be a great thing for the 49ers if Aaron Banks is the starter at left guard. You move on from Laken Tomlinson. He signs that big deal with the New York Jets. You couldn't afford him, but how do you replace those players that go elsewhere when you can no longer afford them in free agency? You plug and play some of your young players, especially your draft picks. And for Aaron Banks, him being a second-round pick, stepping in at left guard, that's big for this franchise as we progress. Confidence level in the 49ers offensive line, I want you to scale it for me in the comment section from 1 to 100. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or watching us on Rumble, just make sure you get those comments in the comment section. Now, let's get ready to rumble, because our 49ers content, it's available on YouTube. It's available on Rumble as we continue to grow to the platforms that you use. And I need your support because we need more followers on the Rumble side of things. And you can follow us by hitting that green follow button if you go to rumble.com/49erstv. Why should you follow us, and what is the incentive? Well, sometimes we put exclusive video content on Rumble that doesn't go on YouTube, and sometimes we go live exclusively on Rumble as well. So if you comment on this video on Rumble, I'll give you some shout-outs in the comments section on the Rumble side of things. It's rumble.com/49erstv. To our OTAs losers now. Have to get to Javon Kinlaw, not because of what he did on the field. He's actually not practicing, but because he brought unnecessary attention on himself with his beef with Grant Cohn this past week. And I understand that Javon Kinlaw was trying to stand up for himself. He doesn't like the fact that media members are going after him because of his failure to produce as a former first-round pick, but lashing out wasn't a good look for him individually or the franchise, especially when the 49ers are in the news and when they don't want that unnecessary attention on the New York Post as well as TMZ because of Javon Kinlaw just going all in on Grant Cohn. And anytime you're called into the general manager's office, it's usually never a good thing, whether you're playing for a football team or working any of the odd jobs that we have as people. You get called into your boss's office, oftentimes it is not a good thing unless you're getting a raise, But in this case, Javon Kinlaw, he wasn't getting a raise. He was really meeting with John Lynch and Grant Cohn so that they could hash out their beef. Next loser for the 49ers throughout OTAs. It's the ground game because of the loss of Mike McDaniel. Last year, he was in charge of the run game last year. A lot of those creative plays in the running game, they were credited to Mike McDaniel, and I thought he did a masterful, beautiful, creative job with scheming some running plays open so that Deebo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell could have a lot of success on the ground. 49ers had one of the best rushing attacks last year in the National Football League, and McDaniel was credited with Deebo Samuel's success because he came up with the idea to move him from wide receiver and put him out in the backfield so that you could have an opportunity to put the ball in the hands of your best player. And Deebo Samuel had a fantastic year, a very unique year last year as a game breaker who could take it to the crib, whether it be through the air or on the ground. Last loser that we have is going to be Jimmy Garoppolo for a couple of reasons. For him individually, he probably wishes that he was on a different football team, but he's still on this Niners roster. He's also recovering from shoulder surgery, will not be able to throw until about July when training camp is in session. And without Garoppolo on the field, Trey Lance has had an opportunity to get all of the reps as QB1, and he's impressed throughout the process of this offseason, making some strides forward as a starting quarterback for this team. And it looks as though Jimmy Garoppolo is, in fact, going to get replaced by Trey Lance. That's why he is a loser throughout OTAs, because he doesn't have an opportunity to really defend himself or take the field to try to fend off Trey. And in the process, Trey Area doing a very good job of turning some heads within this organization. Before we hop on out of here, I want to hear from you once more in the comment section. Which 49ers player are you most excited about going into 2022? Offense, defense, special teams, because punters and kickers are people too. Drop me a name or names in the comment section. Let me know which 49er you're most excited about. And thank you so much for tuning in to the 49ers Report.